Hi everybody, welcome back to Taylor's Table. I'm not wasting any time. It's a moment I've been waiting for. We have our very first guest who needs no introduction. Everybody, please give a warm welcome to Michael, my dad.
Woo!
He made it!
Hello everybody.
Woo!
So happy to be here with you.
Today we are making
Chicken pot pie.
a somewhat healthier version of chicken pot pie, right?
Chicken pot pie is one of my favorite foods, but there's never enough meat and healthy veggies in the pie. What's great about this recipe is that there's a bunch of layers. It's like putting together a puzzle, but it's a lot of fun and it's easy.
Like he said, the fun part about this recipe is the timeline. We'll make sure we take you guys through every single step. The first step that you have to do is set your oven to 380 degrees, which we have already done. And then next you have to prepare your pie crust.
Right, so pie crust is the next step. You can make your own pie crust. I always opt to buy my pie crust. So Trader Joe's is my best bet. And it comes frozen, so all you have to do is really take it out of the box. There's 2 sheets. You just separate them and put them aside and come back to them later.
Next, we have to deal with our chicken because it does take the longest to cook.
Right, and so I like to bake the chicken because it's easy cleanup. And all you really need is 3 ingredients. First, you have to prep the chicken and cut it into bite-sized cubes, which you already have.
And we used 4 chicken breasts.
4 chicken breasts. Then you basically douse some olive oil in it. Add my 2 favorite seasonings, garlic salt and some pepper.
One ingredient we forgot to mention, paprika for your chicken.
Yes, and I actually like to be pretty generous with my seasonings. I don't have any measurements, but I like to see the pepper, I want to see the color of the paprika, and I want to make sure there's enough garlic salt in here.
So we have our baking tray ready. You're just gonna pour the chicken in here. It's going in the oven for how long?
Probably about 35 minutes, but cover it with foil so it stays moist and tender.
Next in our puzzle is the potatoes. So the first thing you have to do is bring a pot of water to boil, which we have already done, and I can hear it, it is boiling. Next.
And so here we have is our prep potatoes. This is about 2½ potatoes, which have already been peeled and cubed into bite-sized pieces. And the great thing about pot pies is you can customize sort of your various ingredients. So for Taylor and myself, we like hardly any potatoes.
We're
want
watching
all
our
meat,
figures.
All meat. For my son Austin, he wants a lot of potatoes.
Yeah, so it's really fun. That's why we love this recipe. You can kind of make it your own. But everything else for the potatoes happens at the stove. So come back here with us.
So the way I like to season the potatoes is I actually put the seasoning inside the boiling water. And essentially all I use is chicken bouillon and some granulated garlic. So about a tablespoon of chicken bouillon and about a teaspoon of granulated garlic. See, the color instantly changes. Taylor, put in the potatoes. So next is our broccoli.
And this is another place where you can really customize your chicken pot pie. We're a little picky, so we just stick with broccoli, but you can add in what, celery, Brussels sprouts, really any veggie you want here, but we're just gonna stick with broccoli.
Now that essentially we're cooking every ingredient that's ultimately gonna go into the pie. So let's go ahead and prep our broccoli. All we take is a little olive oil, and we're gonna pour in our broccoli. And then my other favorite ingredient, garlic salt, and then some lemon pepper.
Okay, Dad, so if you had to give one piece of advice to people who are just getting into the kitchen, what would it be? Think back to when you first taught.
Gosh, a couple of things. One, I would say, don't be shy with seasonings. Seasonings are your friend. They enhance the food flavor. And the other thing is, if you're following a recipe, feel free to enhance it. Feel free to add a few, whether it's garlic,
like
or bouillon, or olive oil,
feel
or
free to change them up.
I add like 10 more things to almost every recipe that I follow. And lastly, clean up as you go along, because the last thing you want is this giant mess in the kitchen where everybody's watching TV.
That is his most famous line, clean up as you go. So if you ever want to get in the kitchen with my dad, your first job will be cleaning.
Dishes is always first, Steve.
All right, guys, we have one final thing to cook before we can assemble our chicken pot pie. We have our roux. So what do we need?
So we need a stick of butter. This will be the first ingredient. And then we have about 1.5 cups of chicken broth.
Homemade.
This is actually homemade, my preferred style. We made some enchiladas last night and kept the broth. You can use box broth, really doesn't matter. Then we have about 1.5 cups of flour. And then the drippings from the chicken that we've been cooking in the oven. So it's probably about 1.5 cups as well.
And all of this we are cooking on the stove top. So come back here with us and we'll show you how to put your roux together.
So I've turned on my stove to about a high medium. And the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna melt the cube of butter. So now that our butter is all nice and melted, we're gonna feather in the flour. So then we're going to add our chicken drippings.
And next I'm adding in the chicken broth. So we have a recipe correction because my dad never measures when he cooks, and this is the first time I actually forced him to measure so we could share the recipe. What is our correction?
So yes, a couple of things. So I would use half as much flour, so 3/4 cup of flour, and I would add another cup of chicken broth, so 2.5 cups of chicken broth. And we forgot our trusty ingredient, about
our favorite,
a heavy teaspoon of chicken bouillon.
All right, you guys, it is finally time to start putting our chicken pot pie together. We have to start with the pie crust on the bottom. So we just chose a 9x13 pan, and that's what we'll be using.
Essentially, so this is where the puzzle analogy comes into play, because essentially you need, in our case, a rectangular bottom, you need 2 long rectangular sides, and you need 2 short rectangular sides, in addition to a lid that's gonna top the whole thing off.
All of our hard work is about to pay off because we are now putting everything together in a mixing bowl for our filling. Do we have to do it in any particular order?
No, but I always start with the things that are not gonna break. So chicken's pretty durable.
So now we can start to put in our filling.
How if I hold and you?
Okay.
Put it all together, put some little slits on top. It looks amazing. I can hardly wait to taste it. So next we just pop it in the oven, 385 degrees, about an hour. Just watch it, wait till it's golden brown, and we're good to go.
Okay, you guys, our chicken pot pie is all done. It looks absolutely beautiful. I'm gonna go ahead and cut a little piece for myself. Oh, it looks good. All right, you guys, there's your homemade chicken pot pie. As always, it is time for me to invite my one and only taste tester to let us know what he thinks about our chicken pot pie. He's back.
Cross your fingers.
God, you can taste this too.
No, I'm nervous.
Because my dad's here.
Yeah, we got an extra guest. Actually, I have to say this is probably one of the best batches.
Because I helped.
Correct. Normally it's just Mike making it, but
right.
This is phenomenal.
And
thank you guys so much. The outside is obviously a little bit crispy, which is fantastic, but I can taste all the different ingredients, potatoes, broccoli, everything else. It's fantastic.
Great. Well, thank you. You made it better, Taylor.
Yes,
Thanks
I did.
for having me on the show.
Oh my God, thank you for being here. You guys, thank you so much for joining me on Taylor's table. We'll see you next time.